Good morning, and welcome to Trust Life with Louise Hay. Those nuggets of truth that she shares with us is so eloquently. And you know, Louise didn't come up with anything new. What she did was learn to understand the powers of the universe and gave them to us in a vocabulary and in a set of sentences and ideas and energy that we could really use. So what she did was she brought truth to the common man, basically, and took it out of the realm of other places. Like in some cases, religion would have colored truth for people because of the oppressive manner in which it was delivered. And she talks here in this one about dysfunctional families. We all come from a bit of dysfunction. She likes to say we are all victims of victims. We were raised by people doing the very best that they could. As we raise our own children, if you have children, we're doing the very best that we can. We're all doing the very best that we can in the moment. And so as we do the very best that we can and we acknowledge that to ourselves, we can also invite ourselves to love ourselves right now. Not when I'm fixed, not when I'm doing this, not when I'm not doing that any longer, but right now. So here's what she says. I love myself totally in the now. The in the now part is the critical piece here. Let's see what she says. Many of us come from dysfunctional homes. We carry over a lot of negative feelings about who we are and our relationship to life. Our childhood may have been filled with abuse, and perhaps that abuse has continued into our adult lives. When we learn early about fear and abuse, we often continue to recreate those experiences as we grow up. Not because we want to, but because that's what we're taught. We may be harsh with others, interpreting the lack of love and affection to mean that we are bad and deserve such abuse. We need to realize that we have the power to change all of this. All the events we have experienced in our lifetime up to the present moment have been created by our thoughts and beliefs from the past. Now, before you start going, no, that's not true, I'm going to say it again and just gently hear into this. Be curious. Is this possibly true? And if it is true, because if it is true, it gives us back our power. And that's incredible. This is not a statement meant to shame us for anything that we have chosen to do or any character traits that we have. Please let go of that idea. This is a statement that helps us understand that we actually have power to change the future and the past, what we feel from the past. I'm going to say this again. All the events we have experienced in our lifetime up to the present moment have been created by our thoughts and beliefs from the past. We do not want to look back on our lives with shame. We want to look at the past as part of the richness and fullness of life. Without this richness and fullness, we would not be here today. There is no reason to beat ourselves up because we didn't do better, whatever better means. We did the best we knew how. We often survive dreadful circumstances. We can now release the past in love and be grateful it has brought us to this new awareness. Now, those are pretty simple words, right? We can release the past in love, greater awareness, all fixed. Well, first of all, what does fixed mean? Do we need fixing? Or Louise often says, becoming more of who we already are. Because when we think about that past and those programs that were brought to us and that dysfunction that we probably lived in because our parents lived in dysfunction, and so what is real function? It's a constant state of flux. It's a constant recorrecting. You know, airplanes, when they fly from Calgary, Alberta to Honolulu, Hawaii, for a wonderful trip and a wonderful arrival, are constantly correcting themselves on the way. There's an automatic pilot, there's a GPS, constantly correcting. Those little tiny course corrections, 1 degree off. Well, if I'm flying from Calgary to Toronto or to Hawaii and I'm constantly 1 degree off, I'm not landed in Hawaii. I'm going to be somewhere in the ocean or somewhere else. So these constant corrections that we can give ourselves, we also correct in love and kindness. And we can say, oh, I'm off the mark here, I'm not feeling this, and bring ourselves back. So as Louise says, go back to the way she says it, we can now release the past in love and be grateful that it has brought us to this new awareness. So the Qigong presentation that I just did prior to this is those places, those small movements of our bodies, because our body is very connected to our soul and our mind and our spirit. They're all a combination that creates who we are. And to release the past, we can use things like EFT, we can use things like bouncing. One of the critical pieces of releasing the past is actually feeling the past. And that can feel scary. That can feel like, no. I put that away a long time ago. I put a box around that, I put a door on it, and I put a padlock on that door, and I'm not going there again. And that can keep us in prison, and a lack of function, a lack of freedom. Freedom, to me, means having access to all of the emotions that we can possibly have as a human being. So if I'm angry about something, being able to understand why I'm angry, getting the message behind that anger, making whatever change needs to happen because of that message, and then going back to that balance. In horses, in my equine facilitated learning process, we call that get the message behind, feel the emotion in its purest form, get the message behind the emotion, make a change because of that message, and go back to grazing. Isn't that a cool metaphor? Because horses, if I looked out my windows right now, I can see horses with their heads down and grazing. And they're in a meditative state. Their heads are down, they've got this huge endorphin bath in their bodies. So as we encounter, how do we release the past? As we encounter anxiety and triggers and memories from the past, if we can breathe into them and maybe say to myself, I'm just going to soften for 2% right here. I'm just going to breathe into whatever it is I'm feeling right now. Yes, there's a whole big stuff under there. That door that I've locked up has got a big door, but I'm just going to let a little bit of a fume, a little bit of a waft come out of that door. I'm going to breathe into it, and I'm going to love myself, even though I'm feeling this anxiety right now. I love and appreciate myself. We can tap in that space as well. And that's how we can start to release from the past. How we can let the past go, by feeling the past in little tiny bits, one breath at a time, breathing deeply, breathing through. It won't be an arrival like arriving in Hawaii. It'll be a process, like course correcting constantly as we go. I hope that makes sense. I love you. Namaste. Blessings on your day, your life, your energy, and your breath.